Hi you, welcome back to the bridge. I hope that you are doing amazing, and if life is not amazing then I hope that it becomes amazing. So as you can see, this video is going to be about how to deal or how to handle or things, a conversation about roommates. And I know my background is a bit different. I'm trying new things, trying new backgrounds, seeing what works the best, so it might look a bit awkward, but I'm just testing things out to see how things go. Alright, so before we start this video, I like to start every video with a disclaimer saying, look, we all have different experiences and opinions, so take every single thing that I say with a pinch of salt. It could or might not apply to your situation, but this is all from my personal experience, which could be different from yours. So yeah, let's have a conversation about roommates, how to handle them, how to deal with them. First, I'd like to differentiate and say that there is a difference between a roommate and a flatmate. So a roommate is someone that you share the same space with. Basically, there's there's two beds in one room. That is a roommate. You can see the person all the time. You can see them working at their desk. You can see them opening their cupboard, right? There's literally no separation. Sometimes I know there is a bit of a boundary, but you can still hear them, see them, or whatever. But basically, that's a roommate. Like, you share the same room. Whereas a flatmate is someone where there are two rooms, so you can't see what they're doing, but you usually share the same kitchen or the same bathroom and things like that. So these points or the tips that I'm going to be talking about are mostly regarding roommates, but I think that they can apply to flatmates as well. So let's start, right? So the first thing is, I personally believe that roommates are very important. And the reason why I'm making this point is because I have been in conversations, and there are differing opinions about whether or not a roommate is important, right? Some people think like a roommate isn't that important. It's just someone that you live with and you can tolerate each other, and who your roommate isn't of much importance, right? So that's one opinion. But I completely differ with that opinion. I think that someone who you spend almost 24/7 hours with, that you spend every single day with, that you sleep in the same room with, has the potential to affect aspects of your life. They have the potential to affect you academically. They have the potential to affect your health if you're not sleeping well because of your roommate's lifestyle, or because they're doing funny things, right? This person that you spend all this time with has the potential. A bad roommate has the potential to just not to just affect you mentally, right? And I'm not saying that this should happen. It shouldn't, because we should cut the boundary before that point comes. But we'll talk about that later. That's going to be a later point about when I think you should call it quits and start looking for a new roommate. But the first thing is I want to say is a roommate is important, right? The second point that I have that personally worked for me is pray for a good roommate. So I walked into residence expecting to have a single room, but I didn't. And although I'd been praying to God to have a single room, at the same time I was praying that, look, if I do end up having a roommate, can you please just give me a good one? And that ended up happening. I ended up having a really good roommate, and we still text to this day, and we're friends. So I had a really splendid roommate. She's amazing. I love her sense of humor and all. And I think in the next video I'm going to ask her what my worst traits what my worst traits were as a roommate. She's not gonna be in the video, but I'm going to ask her to share with you guys. So that's the second thing, is I would suggest, like, just pray for a good roommate. I think God can intervene in every single thing. I really do believe that. And so even something as small as it's not small, but something as important as a roommate, I think he has the power to intervene. The third thing that I would highly advise that I did with my roommates is the first day that you arrive, if not the first day because things are too busy, the first week or the first 2 days, as soon as you have time, you need to sit down with your roommate and have the conversation. And what the conversation is basically a discussion of your pet peeves, things that really annoy you when you share a space with someone, things that perhaps you can tolerate or think that you can accept, so that you guys are willing to reach compromise, right? So there's 2 questions that I absolutely think are crucial, or that I asked when in my 4th year when looking for a roommate. The first question was that I asked my roommates is, what is a pet peeve of yours, right? What is something that if I would do this, it would be the most irritating thing to you? What is something that you cannot handle? And then the second question that I ask is, the second thing isn't a question. The second thing is saying the most irritating thing about me that I know of, right? So mine personally is, I'm one of those people that set an alarm every 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. So my alarm will ring at 6:30, and then 7:15, and then 7, and then 7:15, and then 7:30, and then 8:45, and then 8 o'clock, and I'll wake up at 8. So that alarm has been ringing since 6:30, but I wake up at 8. So that's something that I know is quite annoying about me, and that not everyone can handle, but it's really good to have that conversation. I think important things that you can raise while having those conversations are the lights on or off. I know something that agitates, or not agitates, but some people can't handle is people borrowing things without your permission, or taking clothes that you cover without your permission, which, you know, I think most of the time that doesn't need to be spoken. But if it's something that really irks you, then I'd suggest that you, well, not, yeah, just be completely transparent in that conversation. And that's, so the lights. Something else is whether or not whether you would be able to tolerate people of the opposite sex in the room. That's very important to discuss. Would you tolerate like that person bring their boyfriend over in the room or not, which is something that we agreed would be absolutely, like, not tolerable at all. So just speak about things that are important to you. You guys aren't going to obviously have the same habits. One person might say, I want the lights off, other person says, look, I sleep with the light on. And so there are ways to compromise that and to say, let's rather sleep with a lamp on, so that it's not completely light but it's not completely dark either. The third point that I would make is, sometimes one ends up being really good friends with a roommate, and other times roommates just tolerate each other. So what I'm saying is, don't expect to get a roommate who you will become absolute besties with and share everything with and have great conversations with. I think sometimes movies put this picture up to say, oh, this roommate of yours is going to be the absolute bestest friend that you're ever going to have, which does happen. I've seen that happen. It really does happen, where people meet each other for the first time and they leave residence like sisters. These people are in each other's profile pictures. These people are like, they develop such a close and good friendship that goes beyond varsity. So those things do happen, but other times you tolerate each other. In other words, it's a, I think mutual or neutral is the best way to put it. Is there's nothing bad about your relationship or the way that you guys live, but you guys aren't exactly gonna go out and get a coffee together, if that makes sense. You just live. You what's the word? Um, you roommates. You live. You coexist. Thank you, Lord. You coexist basically. Sometimes that's just how it works. The fourth and last point of this video, part one, is that just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean that you'd make good roommates or flatmates, right? I actually remember a friend and I having a conversation, and we were friends in residence, but we were not roommates. And she said to me, Lindy, I don't think that me and you would make good roommates. Like, there was actually a kind of thankfulness, gratefulness between the two of us that we were not roommates, because we could be good friends, right? We could have the same values and just, yeah, basically share the same values or have the same interests and hobbies. But in terms of how we live, our habits would actually get on each other's nerves. So, for example, the roommate that I had with the alarm thing, remember that was my most irritating trait. She had not the same, but a similar trait with her alarm, but hers wasn't as bad as mine. But this friend of mine was a super early riser, so it was just like, okay, that would have probably really gotten on her nerves. And so I don't think that we would have made good roommates. Even some of the things that she did, sometimes I was like, look, I don't think me and you would have made the good roommates, so it's good that we were not assigned to each other. So that's literally just, you know, that's it. Sometimes you think friends would make good roommates, but they don't. Some things are workable, and I think sometimes it's better to not have that roommate at all. But that is a point that I will talk about in the next video, about what I think would be a good time to call it quits in terms of a roommate like living situation, and yeah, and other things that I'm going to talk about regarding roommates. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you stick around for part 2, and I hope that you have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.